Dave Ramsey told me that all I have to do is not go out for coffee ever, save all my money, and eat beans and rice, rice and beans, and I could pay for a house in cash.
Beans and rice. Rice and beans. Do you really think people doing this plan only live on beans and rice?
I am not suggesting that people only live on beans and rice. You don't have to just literally do beans and rice. It's a metaphor.
It means quit going out to eat. You're broke.
All jokes aside, beans and rice are actually a great way to eat on a budget, and bean and rice dishes are prevalent across many cultures all over the world. And you know what? They don't have to be plain and boring. And so today I have got 7 different rice and bean recipes for you. All of them are delicious, no boring meals here, so I'm excited to share these with you. And the majority of these recipes that I'm sharing with you today are coming out of these 2 cookbooks, which I'll link down below. The first one is America's Test Kitchen, the complete vegetarian cookbook. I've made many recipes out of this cookbook and I highly recommend it. And then also my cookbook, the Essential Pantry Cookbook. We're gonna be making a few recipes out of here as well. So let's jump right in. All right, we are making black bean burgers, and I know what you're thinking. How can a black bean burger be as good as a regular burger? Well, personally, I don't think that a black bean burger can replace a regular beef burger, but you can make them really delicious, and I'm going to show you how. So what I did was I took 2 cans of black beans and I rinsed and drained them. I have 2.5 cups of the black beans here in this bowl, and I'm just mashing them with a potato masher. I'm going to continue to mash these until they are pretty much smooth. And then I have the other beans reserved over here, and then we'll stir those in with the eggs and the other ingredients. In this bowl, I've got 2 eggs, some cumin, cayenne pepper, and salt. I'm gonna whisk all this together, add 1 tablespoon of oil. This totally looks like eggs and cinnamon, but I assure you it's not. It is cumin. Okay, I'm gonna add in the rest of my beans. I'm adding 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs. All right, and then I've got some minced cilantro, green pepper, and some green onion. All right, and then I'm just gonna stir this up until it all comes together and all of those breadcrumbs are moistened and mixed in. Okay, so I'm gonna get my skillet heated up, and then while that is heating up to cook the burgers, I'm gonna bake these pretzel rolls that I got from Wild Grain. They're actually sponsoring today's video, so thank you to them. And I love Wild Grain. In fact, I have multiple Wild Grain items in all of my freezers. I have pasta, I have bread, I have desserts. They are actually the first Bake from Frozen subscription box for sourdough bread, which is perfect because I have tried making sourdough bread and I failed miserably. So it just works better for me to get it from Wild Grain. I can have it hot and fresh in just minutes along with my dinner. The other reason I really like Wild Grain is that it's super easy to customize your box. So whether you're plant-based or gluten-free, no worries, they have options for you as well. The other thing I like about Wild Grain is that every item bakes in 25 minutes or less, which is perfect for weeknight dinners. Some of the items that I got in my box this week are these raspberry lemon biscuits. I'm so excited to bake these up. But last night, actually, we had another dessert from them. I made these lemon ginger biscuits and I put whipped cream and raspberries on them and everyone loved them. They were so good. They also have tons of pasta options. Their pasta is so good, and I highly recommend that when you get your box, get some of their butter. It's super high quality and goes great with their sourdough bread. I also really love that they work with small bakeries across the country. So they support small business and you can get these artisanal items delivered right to your door. They ship it to you with dry ice. It's fantastic. So if you guys want to get a discount on your first Wild Grain box, I'll have a link in the description box below. You can get $30 off your first Wild Grain box. Plus you're gonna get free croissants for life in each box. That means you build your box and then they give you a free package of croissants. You guys have seen me make these before. They are the best croissants that you can bake from frozen at home. My kids love them. They're great for breakfast. They're great for, sometimes I do like a little charcuterie board with cheese and meats and veggies and croissants. They're fantastic. So visit the link in the description box below. It's wildgrain.com/Jen Chapin. Make sure you take advantage of that discount because you're gonna get $30 off plus free croissants for life. Highly recommend it. Okay, so I'm just gonna form these into patties about 1 inch thick. I really like this particular recipe because the burgers stay together super well. Sometimes black bean burgers have a tendency to fall apart, but this is a good recipe. Okay, and then these are gonna cook for 4 to 5 minutes on each side. Okay, so these are almost done. I'm gonna put cheese on one of them and let that melt while the burger finishes cooking. Okay, so we've got our bun. I love tomatoes on this, and then I think what really makes a black bean burger good is spicy mayo or chipotle mayo. Sriracha or chipotle mayo, whatever you want. I'm gonna cut this in half. I guess I should probably get myself a plate too. Oh, look at that. All right. Let's try the burger. So good. Give the black bean burgers a try. Give Wild Grain a try. There's an awesome discount. Once again, I'll have that link in the description box below, or you can tap the screen right here. So in terms of rice, there's a lot of different ways that you can cook rice. So my favorite way now to make rice is with my rice cooker. This is an Instant Pot brand rice cooker. However, you can buy rice cookers for much cheaper, either at like your local Walmart or on Amazon. So I'll link some down below. But the thing I like about a rice cooker is that it is hands off. It cooks the rice perfectly. All I do is put 2 cups of rice in the rice cooker. I do rinse the rice and wash it off just to kind of get all the extra starchiness out. I added some salt to here, and then I'm just gonna add 3 cups of water. I always just make sure that all of the rice is down underneath the water line. And then I just put this on the white rice setting. It takes about 30 to 40 minutes. You can also make rice in your Instant Pot, which I have done for many years, and it works out great. You can also bake rice in the oven, which I'm gonna be sharing with you in several different recipes today. Or you can also make it on the stovetop, which is the worst method for me because I'm terrible at it. Today's recipes are also going to show both dried beans and canned beans. I know if you've never done it before, sometimes it feels like cooking dried beans can be intimidating, but I promise you, it's super simple. Let me show you how. Okay, so next up, I'm showing you this recipe for Cuban style black beans and rice. And I don't have enough time to soak my dried black beans for 8 hours. So I'm gonna do a quick soak in this Dutch oven, and I've got the heat on. I'm gonna bring this to a boil. It's 2 quarts of water and 1.5 tablespoons of salt. And I'm gonna add 1 cup of dried black beans. All we're gonna do is bring this to a boil, and then once it's at a boil, we'll turn the heat off and let the beans sit in that hot water for about an hour. Okay, so my beans are done with their quick soak. I rinsed them, put them back in the pot with half an onion, half a green pepper, 2 bay leaves, a bulb of garlic that I halved, and some salt. And I'm just gonna pour in 4 cups of water. And then we'll bring this to a boil, turn it down to a simmer, and cook the beans for about 30 to 40 minutes. So while my beans are simmering here, I'm gonna go ahead and prep the rest of the veggies for the rice and beans. So the recipe calls for like a green pepper and onion paste. So I just have this little mini food processor. I love it for stuff like this because it doesn't get my big food processor dirty. And in here I've got 1.5 green bell peppers and the other half of that yellow onion. So I'll just process this until it's like a thick paste, just like that. All right, so my beans are tender. The other thing I was gonna say about cooking dried beans, which is a pro, is that obviously you can season them however you want them. Like I tasted one of these just to make sure that they were tender, and the beans are super flavorful and seasoned. So we're gonna remove all of that stuff. So what I did with the beans is I just drained them in a colander over this measuring cup because we want to save that liquid. And then I returned the pot to the stove. I have a couple of tablespoons of oil in the bottom. I put in my processed green peppers and onions. I'm gonna add some cumin and some oregano. And then I also added a tablespoon of tomato paste. So I'm just gonna cook this down over medium heat for about 5 to 10 minutes or until the veggies are tender. I also added the remainder of that head of garlic. I just peeled the remainder of the cloves and minced it up. And And then I've got 1.5 cups of long grain white rice that I just rinsed. And so we're gonna go ahead and add that to the pot and stir it in with the veggies. And then we're gonna add back in that liquid from the beans, 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. Add our beans back in. So all I'm gonna do is bring this up to a simmer. Once it's to that point, I'm gonna turn the heat off, cover it, and put the whole pot. So use a Dutch oven, obviously, or a pot that you can put in the oven with a lid. And then I'm gonna put it in a 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes until the rice is cooked through. All right, our rice and beans are out of the oven. I haven't opened this up yet, so let's see. Ooh, smells so good. Need to fluff it up. Okay, so I'm just gonna fluff this a little bit to kind of separate those grains of rice and get some of that steam out, and then we will plate it up and give it a taste. All right, so I'm gonna add some green onions to the top of this. You can really add whatever you want. You can add some cheese, you can add some sour cream, squeeze a bit of lime juice over. Voila. Okay, so this turned out so good. Obviously such a very simple dish, but it is super duper budget friendly. So this whole pot of rice and beans, which this would easily serve 6 people, I think, is under $7 when I price the items at Walmart. So definitely a thumbs up. Okay, so we are gonna make some egg and black bean burritos. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to make the whole batch of black beans, but then I'm only using 2 eggs because I'm just gonna be making 1 burrito for myself today. But in this bowl, I've got 2 eggs, some salt and pepper, and a splash of half and half. This is just a can of black beans that I rinsed and drained. So I know I told you guys that I was not buying canned beans anymore this year. I was making my own, which I am, but I still have quite a few cans in my pantry I need to get through. I have 1 orange bell pepper that I diced up, and then 3 green onions that I sliced up as well. So here I've got a skillet. This just has a couple tablespoons of oil in it. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my pepper. I added my green onions. Do you guys call them green onions or scallions? I never know. I never know what to say. I'm gonna add just a pinch of cayenne pepper. You know, I have these little measuring spoons that my grandma gave me. They're so cute. One says pinch, dash, nip, and smidgen. And then I'm gonna add that can of black beans. I don't need to cook these down a lot. I'm basically just gonna warm them through and then transfer this to a bowl so I can cook the eggs. Okay, so my burrito is done. Basically, I just cooked the egg in the skillet. I added some cilantro and cheese and the black beans. And then I always like to toast my burritos on the outside because I feel like it up levels the tortilla quite a bit, but this looks super good. I'm not really camera ready because it's still early here, but I'm gonna taste this for you guys. I love a good breakfast burrito, and I don't know why, but I've never thought to add black beans and, you know, save money on the meat. This is the Herdez medium guacamole salsa. It's really good if you haven't tried it. Okay, that is so good. You know, you wanna know what would make this even better? So if I make these again with the rest of my black beans, I'm gonna put some hash browns or some potatoes in there. That's really good. I would also use a stronger cheese. I just had some shredded Colby Jack in the fridge, so that's what I used, but I think a really sharp cheddar would be good in here, or even a pepper jack. Very, very delicious. Make it. The thing I was gonna say too is that I'm always looking for more ideas for savory breakfast. I'm not a super sweet things for breakfast person, so I definitely recommend that. So good. So we're gonna make a chickpea curry, which is extremely affordable and delicious. In this pot, I've got a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, And then I prepped some of my ingredients over here. I'll link this recipe down below. I found it online. It's from simplyrecipes.com. I've got some coconut milk, tomato sauce in this bowl. I've got cayenne and turmeric, and then I grated some ginger in here along with some garlic. And then I also rinsed and drained my chickpeas. So I'm sauteing the garlic and ginger a little bit, and then I'm just gonna add the spices. When you toast the spices in the oil like this, like I've done with several of these recipes, it really helps to enhance the flavor of whatever you're cooking, because that heat in the oil is gonna help those spices become a lot more flavorful. This already smells so good. It smells like curry in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my chickpeas, 1 can of full fat coconut milk, and then 1 can of tomato sauce. Okay, so I brought this up to a simmer, and I'm gonna put the lid on this and simmer it for about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so my curry is finished simmering. I tasted the sauce just to see if it needed any salt or anything. It tastes delicious. So now I'm gonna add a couple of handfuls of spinach and then just put the lid on and let that wilt for a bit. Okay, we're gonna stir in the spinach and let it wilt down. And this is done. So you can serve this with rice or some naan on the side. I think I have some naan in the fridge. Okay, so these curried chickpeas turned out so good. If you like if you like curry in general, definitely try this recipe. I'm looking forward to having leftovers of this week for lunch, and it's gonna be really good with rice also, but right now I'm just having it with some naan, and then I added some cilantro to the top. Okay, so next up we are going to make this recipe. It's for cranberry beans with tequila, green chilies, and pepitas. So I've got my onion here sauteing in a little bit of oil, and I added some salt to that. I have this in a large Dutch oven because we're gonna end up finishing these beans in the oven. And then I also, last night, I soaked a pound of cranberry beans. You can also substitute, I believe they said, pinto beans or kidney beans in place of these. I actually bought these for a different recipe long ago and just found them in my pantry, so it was perfect to make this. I'm gonna add my spices. This is some cumin seed, paprika, and oregano. Just add that, stir it around. I'm gonna add a good amount of garlic. And then in here, I've got a 1/4 cup of tequila. Okay, then we're gonna add our soaked and rinsed beans. 5 cups of water. And then I added 1 bay leaf and a tablespoon of brown sugar. Okay, this has now come to a simmer, so I have the lid on it. I'm gonna put it in a 325-degree oven for 1.5 hours. I'm gonna stir it halfway through. Okay, so my beans have been in the oven for 45 minutes, stirring them, halfway done. So I'll cover these and put them back in the oven for 45 more minutes. Okay, so my beans have cooked for 1.5 hours. I can tell they are done. So what we're gonna do now is add a 4-ounce can of diced green chilies, stir that in, and put this back in the oven uncovered for another, I think the recipe says 15 minutes. Okay, so we have our cranberry beans with green chilies, tequila, all those spices that we put in there. I just cooked some rice and put it on top, garnished with some cilantro. I had some pickled red onion in the refrigerator, and then some pumpkin seeds. I just did the pumpkin seeds because I had them in the pantry, but if you don't have those, I wouldn't buy them just for this. But I'm gonna go eat this. I've already tasted it. It's delicious. It smells really good. This recipe that I'm gonna make next is a skillet brown rice and beans with corn and fresh tomatoes. So I've got 1 onion just sauteing in a little bit of olive oil in this skillet. I'm gonna add some corn. This is leftover canned corn that I had in the fridge, but you could do frozen or fresh if you wanted to. I'm gonna add some garlic and then 1 teaspoon of cumin. And then this is 1 cup of brown rice that I rinsed off. I also added a pinch of cayenne pepper. I'm gonna add 3 1/4 cups of chicken broth. And actually, if you wanted to make this recipe vegan, you could use veggie broth. Did you say boo? Yeah. Okay, so while my rice is simmering, I'm gonna make the topping for it. So I've got some grape tomatoes here that I just halved. Put a little bit of olive oil in there. I'm gonna add some chopped green onions and some chopped cilantro. And then I also added some lime juice and salt and pepper. Okay, so my rice has been simmering for about 20-25 minutes. It's not done yet. Obviously, brown rice takes longer to cook. I have 2 cans of black beans that I rinsed and drained. So I'm just gonna carefully stir these in and let it cook for another 20 minutes. All right, so my rice is done. I went ahead and after I turned the heat off, I just let it sit with the lid on just to make sure any of the liquid absorbed. I tasted it, added some salt and pepper. It turned out really good. I think the thing that is really gonna make this recipe is the topping. So we'll just add some of that. You could add cheese if you wanted, sour cream, salsa. All right, let's give it a taste. Okay, definitely recommend this one. Also, if you're gonna make it, make sure you make the topping like the little tomato salsa, because I think that just takes it to the next level. Super good. I think it's good. You can't have any. All right, so we are gonna make one of my favorite recipes from my cookbook. It is the Cajun inspired beans and rice. It's super quick and delicious to put together. So I chopped up an onion, and then I have some green bell pepper chopped up in the freezer, so I'm gonna use some of that. If I had celery on hand, I would use that as well, but I don't right now. Garlic. I pulled some pinto beans out of the freezer, and then I'm gonna use this for the sausage part. This is pork and bison jalapeno cheddar bratwurst. You can use andouille. You can really use whatever you want. This recipe is super forgiving. I'm gonna add some garlic, and then we'll go ahead and add our sausage and saute that until it's nice and brown. I'm gonna deglaze this pan with about 2 cups of chicken broth. I usually don't buy boxed chicken broth, but I was cleaning out my pantry and found a rogue box in there that I needed to use up. I'm gonna turn this heat up a little bit. Just kind of scrape those brown bits off the bottom as it comes to a simmer. I'm also gonna add some Italian seasoning, cayenne, and paprika. So these beans that I had cooked up and frozen, they're pinto beans that I cooked from dried, but when I was making them, I overcooked them. I overcooked them quite a bit, so they kind of became a little bit like refried beans, but that's fine. There are still plenty of like whole beans in there, and actually the mashed beans will help thicken this up a little bit. So this is basically done. I added some salt and pepper. All you have to do now is just let this simmer for about 15 minutes, and then you can taste the seasonings and add whatever you want, and then I'll cook up some rice to go with this. All right, we've got our hot cooked rice. I like to put it kind of on top of the sausage and bean mixture. That way I can kind of mix it in as I'm eating it. And I love to top this with a ton of green onions. If you guys haven't made this recipe, highly recommend it. It's so good, super quick, filling, easy, and the best part is that it's very cheap to make. Okay, so I have this container of rice in my fridge that I made a couple days ago, and I've been loving to make extra rice because I've been liking fried rice. Well, not only do I like it, but I've been trying to come up with new things that I can put in the kids' lunches for the week, and fried rice actually reheats great, and then I just pack it into a thermos that I prime with hot water. So this is how I make my fried rice. I don't really use a recipe per se, although I will say I've watched many Uncle Roger videos to learn how to make what allegedly is proper fried rice. So in this bowl, I have the lighter parts of green onion, some ginger that I grated, and some garlic. So we're gonna saute that before we put the egg in and then the rice in. And then I always like to finish it with some regular green onions. I've got some sesame oil, some dark soy sauce, and then some eggs. So since I'm just doing egg fried rice, I'll just put some mixed veggies in with it. And I do like to kind of heat these up in the microwave, obviously because they're frozen. And then that way they have a little bit of a head start. So I'll just put those in there for like, I don't know, 4 minutes. I would use my wok. However, it's getting to be evening time and I don't really want to have to like hand wash the wok and re-season it and all of that stuff. So I'm just gonna use my Hexclad pan. I did not buy one of these for the longest time because they're so expensive. And then finally last year, Adam got me one for my birthday. I get a lot of questions on if they're worth it or not. And I have used it for a while now, almost, well, I guess probably like 9 months. And I can say that, yes, I think they're worth it. The reason I say that is because it's like a hybrid nonstick. So you can treat it as a nonstick, like it, you know, you can fry eggs in it like a nonstick, things like that. But then it also works to sear items like meat and things like that. And then you can also use metal utensils in it. It doesn't scratch the pan. I always get comments when I use metal utensils in it, and people get like really triggered by that. They don't like it. Okay, so I have 2 eggs in here. I'm just gonna add a little bit of sesame oil, and I've got some salt in there, and then I'll beat those eggs up. And then the only other thing that I got out was my chicken bouillon powder. I do like to season the fried rice with a little bit of that because this does have MSG in it, and obviously MSG makes it taste better. Okay, so once your oil is hot, you're gonna put in your aromatics. I'm gonna add the egg. And we'll add our veggies. Okay, so obviously I added soy sauce, some of that chicken bouillon powder, some sesame oil, and those green onions. I just want to taste it, make sure it tastes okay, season it if needed, but this is perfect, so just gonna let this cool before we pack it up into the fridge. Don't forget to check out Wild Grain. I've got that $30 off coupon and the link down below. You're also gonna get free croissants for life in every box. And if you guys wanna see how I turned just $40 into 28 meals, you can click on this video and watch it right here.